We're on WNYC, and for our last few minutes, and speaking of American history, we're going to spend these minutes with our friends from the Moth, the storytelling organization, who want to invite you to a project with the National September 11th Memorial and Museum that will include storytellers for a performance in September as we all observe the 25th anniversary of that day, September 11th in 2001. So to tell us more about this project and how you might get involved and to play an excerpt or two of some possible examples, Christina Norman, the Moth's Chief Creative Officer, and Juan Rodriguez, their Senior Manager of Community Engagement. Hey, Christina, who used to work here. Good to hear your voice again. And Juan, welcome to WNYC.
Hey, good morning, Brian. Thank you so much for having us.
All right, Christina, how would this work for participants? Who do you want to show up for you?
Well, I mean, as you mentioned, Brian, 9/11 is such a meaningful day for so many people in this country, but for so many New Yorkers. You know, we all remember where we were, what we were doing, and I especially remember the role of WNYC on that day of keeping us informed and sane in a lot of insanity. And so it was really important for us to find a way to commemorate this. We feel that storytelling is such an important way for us to preserve memories, for us to build connection and build empathy. And we're creating a special event. It's going to be our season opener. It's going to be on September 18th. But as we get to that, we want to make sure that we're giving ordinary New Yorkers a chance to tell their stories. So we're offering a series of workshops in partnership with the 9/11 Museum. And Juan can speak more about the workshops.
Juan, take it away.
Yes. So we are putting together these workshops. We have an info session on June 10th from 7 to 8 p.m. We're going to share that link with you, which is themoth.org/event/9/11. And the idea of this info session is to demystify the art of storytelling, for people to come in, get together, and just talk through their shared experiences. Some of them may be traumatic. Some of them may be positive and memories of resiliency in the time of 9/11. And we will, spend about an hour just kind of learning from each other and talking and sharing and building stories through community. And then hopefully people will feel inspired to sign up for the longer workshop, which starts on June 16th.
It's such a wonderful invitation, Juan, to people to attend a storytelling workshop, people whose, memories and in many cases intense personal experiences of 9/11 and the period around 9/11, they may have been sitting on or, talked about with friends and family, but still feel maybe is kind of bottled up inside them for anything in a more public way. And you want to give people the tools, right?
Yeah, we want to give them the tools. There's also this, whenever there's a huge tragic event such as 9/11, there's so much burden around talking about it. And in the workshop, since you're there with a community and people with shared experience, you get to share that burden, which is really important to the process of capturing this event, not just in its full impact, but in the little moments. Those shared experiences of seeing the American flag on stores, or people coming to send, the breathing mask during 9/11. All those things are just these powerful memories that we don't even get to talk about because of the tragedy being so big.
Here is maybe a good example of somebody telling a personal 9/11 experience story in the context of the Moth. We're going to play a 1-minute excerpt from firefighter Kevin Young, who was not on duty that day, but felt called to head to the site after the attack and how it changed him. And I believe this was recorded way back then, just later in 2001. This is an excerpt from near the end of his story that runs about a minute.
I had never been so proud, and I had never been so scared at the same time. And seeing everybody work together actually gave me a sense of hope that I probably never had before in my life. The fact that we could just work together, and all these different agencies that normally don't give a shit about each other or talk to each other. Nobody was a cop. Nobody was a fireman. We were just there, and we were busting our ass to do the best thing we could, And I give my friends hugs now, I didn't always do that. I started to pay a little more attention to my friends and appreciate my life a little more, my kids. I just want to say that that day actually being on that pile of rubble and debris and despair, I actually had a glimpse of hope and strength. And I did feel this feeling of life in me.
Firefighter Keith Young. I said Kevin Young going into that clip. Sorry, it was Keith Young. And one more, someone else who experienced a profound change but was less directly impacted by the attacks. This is from the beginning of a story that a woman named Nancy Mull told in the context of the Moth in 2021, so 20 years later, also about a minute.
It was a regular Tuesday at work. It was a beautiful day, and I was standing on the roof of the New York Times building in Times Square. I was on the roof because I'm an elevator mechanic, and that's where the elevator machine rooms are. I was drinking a cup of coffee and watching the traffic below, and I heard the phone ring in the motor room. That usually is a bad thing. It means somebody's stuck in an elevator or somebody's complaining about something. So I went in to answer the phone, and it was my mother. Now, I hadn't spoken to my mother in maybe 2 years, so it was strange on so many levels. It was strange that she would call me on the roof of the New York Times, that she would know that I was on the roof of the New York Times. And she said, "Are you okay?"
Oh, so she and her mother were not speaking, Christina, but they managed to form a new bond over their love of this city. Probably many more people share some kind of experience like that. I guess anybody who was around then has a 9/11 story, like came up before. People know where they were. I know where I was. And so give people a little more information about how to sign up if they want to consider telling their 9/11 story, whether it's in New York or, there were the other attack sites as well, in the context of a Moth event.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I'll say is that, and I love Nancy's story so much, I love both of those stories, but, one thing we want to make sure that we do with this project is get outside of the day of remembrances, especially. My daughter was in 5th grade at that point, and I want to hear from those people. I want to hear from the kids. What was their experience like that day? What changed for them afterwards? What did they do differently? I think there are so many different aspects of this, and we've absolutely rightly focused on survivors, as we should, or families of people who were impacted that day. But I would love to make sure that we can hear from people who came to New York for the first time after that, people who were here on vacation. There's so many different stories, and they're not all. We also want to make sure, as Juan said, that we find the completion in this. What were the moments of joy? What are the moments of love? I love that Kevin now hugs his friends, and that's a beautiful outcome from that. So I think that there are so many different facets of this, and I think that's what we're hoping that the workshop captures. As you said, people from outside of New York as well. I don't think Juan mentioned this, but the workshop, the information session is virtual, so anyone from all over the country can be a part of this workshop, and I'm going to let him give the URL because I don't remember it right now. But there's tons of ways to get involved.
Yeah, once again, that URL is themoth.org/event/9/11. And it'll be this Wednesday from 7 to 8 p.m., so right before the next game.
Put a exclamation point after that. It will be over before the next game, right?
Yes.
Can you give me 15 seconds, Juan, just to empower people on what's the most difficult part of crafting a story for most people who haven't done it before? Then we're flat out of time. 15 seconds.
Yes. So it is, the most difficult part is just opening your mouth and saying that first sentence. Once you get talking and you start to share the commonalities in the space, you're in a beautiful system of support where listening as well as sharing your story develops the story. And you always have an audience that's going to cheer you on in the community space.
Juan Rodriguez, Senior Manager of Community Engagement for the Moth. Christina Norman, the Moth's Chief Creative Officer. Such a great service. The Moth is always great, but this is such a great service. Thanks for coming on the show and letting people know about it.
Thanks for having us on, Brian.